Hello all, I'm Sai and in today's video, I'm bringing to you my quarterly TBR for the first quarter of 2024. That is, I have a total of 10 books which I'll be reading across the first quarter, that is from Jan to March of 2024. I had already announced in my channel updates/goals video that I'll be making quarterly TBRs this year. And in each and every one of these quarterly TBRs, I'll be announcing the book club picks for the next 3 months for that particular quarter. So in this TBR, we'll be seeing the first 3 books, which will be the books for the book club that I am doing for Jan, Feb and March. I have already announced the book for January in my live stream of December. In case you did not watch the live stream, you can catch that book here. So without any more further ado, let's get into the books right away. So the first book in my TBR is the book club pick for January of 2024. I know that this video is getting released in the mid of January, but I would have already announced this book in my community post also, so this is not a late announcement. And I also wanted to start off the book club for the year 2024 with an Indian book. So I'm going with this one, which is Asura, The Tale of the Vanquished by Anand Neelakantan. I've been wanting to read this book for a few years now, and I also read another book by Anand Neelakantan in 2023 and 2022, and I ended up loving both of those books, especially the points of view and the ways in which he narrates these stories which we already know from Indian mythology is really nice. Now basically in this book we are going to see the story of Ramayana, but from the side of the Asuras, that is from the side of Ravana and his people. It is quite a thick book, so I also have the Audible audiobook for this one bought and ready with me. So I'm going to immersively read this book, that is I'll be listening to the audiobook and following on with the physical copy. There will also be a dedicated review and discussion video for this one that will be released in the end of January or beginning of February. Some of you guys also asked me to make a live stream for the discussion of the book club pick. I'll try to put a poll somewhere in my community post so that if more people are interested in a separate live stream for the book club discussion, we can make that happen too. So Asura by Anand Neelakantan is the book club pick for January. Moving on to the second book, which is the book club pick for February. Since Valentine's Day is on February, I wanted to make the book club pick a romance book, and I'm also selecting an Indian romance book over any other romance. It has also been sitting on my shelf for over 2 years now, and I've been wanting to read this book also ever since I bought it itself. I've tried reading it twice before, but because of some reason, I soft DNF'd it both the times just after reading like a couple of pages. By making it the book club pick, I'm going to make myself read it in February, and I also have confidence in this author. And the book is The Perfect Us by Durjoy Datta. Here we follow our 2 main characters, Deb and Avantika, who both have been involved with each other ever since college, and they've been in kind of a relationship for the past 10 years. Now Deb wants them to take the next step in their relationship, but Avantika is not ready for it. There are multiple reasons for it, including her past baggage as well as the fact that she is much more successful in her career than him. You can even see the bookmark here, right? So I did start reading the book and I put the bookmark somewhere inside the book. So making it as the book club pick will also encourage me to go forward and finish this book rather than just reading a few more pages of it. And from my experience with reading Durjoy Datta's books before, I think this will be quite entertaining for me. Moving on to the third book, which is the book club pick for March. Since we have Women's Day in March and since the entire month is specifically devoted for women, I wanted to read a story which has a female main character written by a female author, and it is also a historical fiction book whose first book or companion book I read as another book club pick in 2023. I loved that book. It was also my most favorite of 2023. That book is The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and this one, which is its companion, is Silka's Journey by Heather Morris. Now I have talked a lot about The Tattooist of Auschwitz in the past year, and I also have a complete discussion and review video for it, especially for the book club that I've posted already in the channel. So many of you guys have watched that video and discussed a lot about that particular book with me. I also bought the third book, which is the second companion for that book last year itself, but I did not get this until the end of the year. That's why I did not continue with the companion books. Since I have it in hand now, and since it's also quite huge, I want to make this as a pick for the book club because I know that there will be a lot of stuff to discuss in here. Because Silka is definitely one of the most powerful characters inside the Tattooist of Auschwitz. It's not like she has a huge role to play inside the story or that she gets a lot of page count inside that book. But the things that Silka has went through has helped so many other people not suffer what she went through. I'm a bit frightened to read this book because I know it will traumatize me, but I'm also super sure that I will be so glad after reading this. So those were all the book club picks that I have for the first quarter. After this, I'm just going to talk about all the other books that I plan to finish reading in the first quarter itself. Obviously, I'll not just be reading these 10 books or 12 books alone. I'll also be reading other books and series in between. But I'm going to try and prioritize these as the books that I want to finish in the first quarter itself, because they've been in my radar for a while and I'm also super interested to read them. So of these, the first one is an Indian YA/adult fantasy book, which is The Yogi Witch by Zorian Cross. I'm not sure whether this is a standalone fantasy book or the first one in a series, but I'm super intrigued by the plot of the book. It is basically about this boy named Jay, who's a yoga instructor by day, and by night he's a witch who fights a lot of demons and also helps people deal with some of the ailments that they have. Just look at the stunning cover of this book. It is very shiny and it is super intricately done. I've not heard anyone talk about this on BookTube, so I definitely want to give it a try. And I'm also doing a project in which I want to recommend more Indian fantasy books to you guys. So because of all these reasons, this is definitely on my TBR. Next we have a thriller book, and it's been so long since I read and enjoyed a thriller book. And for some reason, I have not been in the mental space to read that many thrillers also in the past 2 to 3 years. So because of that, I have not bought as well as read most of the thrillers that are even popular out there in the past few years. This is definitely one of such books, and I've seen this book popping up in my feed so many times in the past year itself, and I found it inside the Lock the Box sale. It's been nearly like 7 to 8 months since I bought it, and I'm pretty sure that once I start reading this book, I'll not be able to put it down, because the premise of this book sounds super dark and intriguing, and it is The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. I know that Lisa Jewell is super well known for all her mystery and thriller books out there, and if I'm not wrong, this also has kind of a sequel. The basic premise of this book is that there is this small baby that is found in an apartment, and the baby is well fed and taken care of when it is found. But it is quite mysterious and suspenseful, because except that baby, they find 3 dead bodies in that apartment. And those 3 people who are dead have been dead for quite a while. Who has taken care of this baby, and why was the baby alone not killed? And all the other such questions which follow are the things which are explored in this book. I've heard that it is quite dark and it's also a page turner. Again, it's a little bit big in its size, so I want to put my teeth in and read this thriller, because it's been so long since I enjoyed a thriller. I have plans to read this in January itself. Let's just wait and see what is going to happen or not. The next book in this TBR bite is definitely the most controversial of all, because once I show this book itself, I know that so many of you will be excited and so many others of you will be super irritated and annoyed also. As some of you guys have been asking me to read the series ever since I started the channel itself. I read one other book by this author in 2022 and I ended up liking that book. It was quite surprising for me. So I want to give this series a try, so I'm going to just try the first book alone. It is easily one of the most popular books out there in the world itself, and it is Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. This is the first book inside the Twilight saga, and I'll be honest with you guys, I don't have high expectations in this one. At the same time, I'm not going to go and read this book with the intention of hating it, because from my experience with reading The Post by the same author, I really do trust her, because I think her books will explore certain things which other people are a bit frightened to explore. Having said all those things, I need to say now itself that I'm super excited to try Twilight, and if I end up liking this first book, I'll definitely binge through the series by the end of the year. Next we have an adult fantasy trilogy, and trust me, I have not heard anything negative about the series at all. Okay, not even a single person that I've heard talking about the series has said anything bad about these books at all, and that is quite intriguing for me. It's been over a year since I bought this, because I bought this exactly in the beginning of Jan 2023, and for some reason I just totally forgot to read the series during the winter season. And it is the Winter Night Trilogy by Catherine Ardell, whose 3 books are The Bear and the Nightingale, The Girl in the Tower, and The Winter of the Witch. Now this is basically an adult fantasy series that is based on Russian folklore. I'm not saying adult fantasy series because it is smutty or anything. It's just because of the complexity of the series and the age range of the main character inside this. I've seen so many people sing the praise of the series, and even people who have just read the first book alone have only said really great things about it. If you think about it, that's not like a huge deal, but everyone who has read the second and third books also have not complained anything about the series at all. Despite all those things, I don't think this is as much popular. I should have read this in 2023 itself. Better late than not, I'll definitely finish reading this in 2024. Apart from the Winter Night Trilogy, there is also another fantasy series which I want to finish reading in the first quarter itself. And I'm very sure that I'll be able to finish reading this in the first quarter, because I have already finished rereading the first book and I'm going to start my reread of the second book in January itself. After that, I have not read the other 3 books inside the series, and it is also one of the most popular fantasy series on YouTube, which is A Coat of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I've read the first two books, A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury, but after that I did not continue on with the series, even though the second book was really good. I have finished rereading the first book though, so you'll be getting a review and discussion video of each and every one of these 5 books in the series also, because I find Sarah J Maas's books very entertaining, if not anything else. And rereading this first book also makes me understand that even though many people think that her books are just trashy, I think she has a really good writing style, and the way in which she builds her words and writes her characters is really nice. I also like her prose very much after rereading A Court of Thorns and Roses. So this is definitely another series which I want to finish in the first quarter itself. And apart from these two, I'm not going to add any other series to this TBR because I don't want to pressure myself, and I want to at least finish reading 2 series in the first quarter. Next we have an International Booker Prize winning book. I read the Booker Prize winner for 2022, which is Tomb of Sand by Geetanjali Shree last year, and I liked the story, but I did not like the way in which the book was written because it was way too dragged out and way too roaming in its sense, if you ask me. The main plot of the book was not even half for the book's page count, so that was quite annoying for me, and it also took a lot of months for me to finish reading that book because without taking it in slow, I'm sure I would not have understood most of that story at all. Because of that only reason, I did not pick this book up in 2023 itself, and it is The 7 Moons of Mali Almeida by Shehan Karnatilaka. Now, this is a book that is written by a Sri Lankan author, and I personally have not read anything that is written by Sri Lankan authors before. And if I'm not wrong, it is a fusion of both historical fiction or literary fiction and magical realism put together. I just love the cover of this book so much. It looks super vibrant. I'll not be able to explain the plot of this book properly to you guys without reading it, so I'm just going to read it from the blurb. Here it goes. Colombo, 1990. Mali Almeida, war photographer, gambler, and closet gay, has woken up dead in what seems like a celestial visa office. His dismembered body is sinking in the Beira Lake and has no idea who killed him. At a time when scores are settled by death squads, suicide bombers, and hired goons, the list of suspects is depressingly long, as the ghouls and ghosts who clutter around him can attest. But even in the afterlife, time is running out for Mali. He has 7 moons to try and contact the man and women he loves most and lead them to a hidden cache of photos that will rock Sri Lanka. That sounds super interesting to me, and I'm pretty sure that the writing style will be difficult for me to consume and understand more than anything. Still, I'm super pumped for this one, and just look at the pretty cover as I said before. I'll definitely prioritize and read this as soon as I can. And the last book in this TBR is the only non-fiction and only self-help in this list. And no matter what other non-fiction book I read or don't read, I need to finish this in the first quarter itself because I have put this off for a long time already because of some internal resistance within myself. And the book is Daring Greatly by Brené Brown, which talks about the power of vulnerability. Now, I am a very closed person, and it might seem like I'm getting a bit emotional when I talk about books and I get excited and joyful when I'm talking about books. But other than that, when it comes to my personal life and my private space, I'm not someone who just opens up all the doors and says everything about my life to people. My boundaries are very close to me, and it is always difficult for me to let people in and let them know me as well as let myself know them better because of some trust issues that have developed over the years. I'm sure all of us have this kind of a problem, at least to some extent. And some people like me might think that they might have it for a larger extent too. There's nothing wrong in having such problems, I'm aware of that. And I just want to make it better for myself because I know making ourselves vulnerable to people whom we love in our lives can make our life a bit more colorful, enjoyable, and honest for ourselves. And I've also watched some of the TED Talks of Brené Brown, so I think she will have handled this topic pretty well. And once I finish reading it, I'll definitely make a dedicated video for this one. So yes guys, that's my TBR for the first quarter of 2024, and I hope I informed you well of the books that I've planned to read in the first quarter. Do let me know down in the comments whether you'll be joining the book club picks for the first 3 months of 2024, and if you have any other suggestions for the future ones inside the year, drop them also down in the comments so that if more people are inclined to reading them, we can select them as the book club picks for the further months also. Also try to attach a reason behind any one of your books because if you go with a book that suits the time of the year, I think it will be much more fun to read. And if you have read any of the books that I've talked about in this video, do tell me how they are and what I can expect from them. And if you're going to read any of them along with me, tell me that also. And if you did enjoy watching today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. And if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.